inspired, fully engaged. You're tuning in to Reality with Vicki Gunvalson.
Angel, wanted to welcome you to Reality with Vicki. And those of you that are listening, please don't forget to download us. To give me a 5 stars, please, because you know I don't like a 4 or 3 or 2 or 1. Being the type A girl that I am. So I just want to say thank you for joining us. I know time is valuable for everybody. And we're going to be discussing today how COVID has changed the way we relate to each other. And we will discuss how we can help people to reconnect. And I think that's a big deal right now. Angel, I don't know if you know a lot about me. Did you ever watch The Real Housewives of Orange County?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, as you know, some members of your team have already briefed me about it, and also my team has. Okay. So yeah, lots of due diligence in the background, Vicki.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So if you've watched the show, you know that my passion has been really helping people with finances, and the show really never depicted much of that. But it's important to just remind the viewers that I've been a financial planner for 32 years. But right before COVID, I launched this Financially Fabulous with Vicki group. And I think
Excellent.
You're a member of that as well. So I've been a longtime veteran in the insurance and financial services industry. And I noticed that financial wellness was an area that many needed assistance in order to really achieve overall wellness. So my team and I decided to start this group, and it's been very well received. So for over 30 years, I've just got a little bit to talk about. I've been helping people plan for the unplanned. And so the unplanned can be so many different things: divorce, death, illness. And I think a lot of times people are really scared right now because the debt is increasing. So we partnered with debt.com. But I think that my Financially Fabulous Facebook group is giving really a nice resource for people that they can go to and lean on. So let's talk about you.
Thank you.
Angel, you're known as a CEO Confidant, as an influencer, a LinkedIn strategist, international TV host, a public speaker, a CEO consultant, board member, and philanthropist. You've started a foundation called Wisdom for Kids, which helps kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs. Exactly. Incredible. So just have a few questions, and then we're going to leave the floor to you.
Thank you.
You mentioned that bridges have been burned due to COVID and politics since this pandemic has started. So can you explain a little bit more about that statement and what you think about that?
Yes, actually, I mean, the bridges have been built all over the world, all over every single community, every single, let's say, role in our society, really. And I think that, for whatever reason, and it's funny how we use very similar terms, because actually my mission, when people, besides what my bio says, my real mission is actually to connect the unconnected, the unconnected.
I love that.
So because, I'm originally from Spain, but I've traveled the world, and I've done business in many different countries, and I was always working with the top level people, like the CEOs, like the, general managers, C-levels. And at the same time, because I lived in Latin America for 10 years, I was really, unfortunately, seeing poverty every single day. So within minutes, I would be with a kid that was trying to sell to me maybe a bottle of water or a bag of candy. And after 5 minutes, I was already inside the manufacturing plant of one of those large multinational corporations, talking to the CEO to close a multi-million-dollar deal. So that's why when COVID started and everything started in, let's say March last year, 2020, immediately I realized that, everything was getting so heated online as well, and people were going here and there. They didn't know. Our uncertainty generates fear. We have to, and you probably, you deal with uncertainty for your entire career. You said 30 years.
Yep.
You brought certainty, and you keep on bringing certainty to the people that unfortunately don't know how, or have never been taught, right? How to have a much more certain life.
Right. And I think I've talked on this quite a bit on my podcast. We've all been very anxious, and there's been a lot of uncertainty, even with me in my personal life, my business, you, I'm sure as well, the people that we deal with. The uncertainty is something that we're not comfortable with as humans. So we like stability, consistency.
Totally.
something that we know we can count on. So I don't think it's rare to state that most people have had this fear and this uncertainty. So what do you think we can do to change, how this works?
I think
I know that these bridges have been burned, and COVID and politics and all these different things have happened this year. So what do you think we as citizens can do?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So I believe that the answer is inside of us and not outside. Honestly, I think it's the time that every single human being realizes that they have this unlimited potential, this incredible passion for whatever they like to do. And the answers are really coming from inside. The answer to that question comes from our heart, comes from those things that we really like to do, from those things that people have always told us that we are so good at doing, and they come to us for advice. I was one way to connect for instance, here in Dallas, I live in Plano, Texas, north of Dallas, and I was talking to entrepreneurs, many groups of entrepreneurs last year, and it was basically the conversations were always how to pivot in times of crisis, And there's a lot of solopreneurs out there. There's a lot of people that have their own businesses and they are self-employed, and they need to we cannot blame the human being for being human being, right? I mean, we have the survival mode because we have to survive, right? And we are distracted, right? We have these devices that we carry with us all the time, and all the other things that distract us in our lives, but this is to protect us. That's why we as human beings, right, in order to survive, we have to be able to notice everything is going around us. But the problem is when this actually plays against us, and that has been the case. So that's why I'm saying, hey, the solution really starts from ourselves, from inside, trying to find moments of silence, of incredible peace, where we can really think about ourselves without being really disturbed about what's going around us. It sounds like a very personal, human basic thing, but in reality, we are not doing it. And I will never stop preaching. I will never stop saying that the reality that we want to, create, this certainty, get rid of this fear, making sure that we thrive and we keep on having this financial literacy, this financial stability that we all need to thrive, because we really care about our families. We really care about our communities, right? So the solution and the answer is inside of us. And that's the first step for me to reconnect with what really is worth it, what we really care about.
Yeah. So I know a lot of personal relationships. Personally, I know a lot of people that their personal relationships have been altered, changed. A lot of divorces have been happening. I had a divorce attorney on my podcast a couple weeks ago, and he was just saying, it's on the rise. The compromising isn't happening anymore. The desire and the will to stay in it through these bad times. So do you think this virus has permanently altered our personal relationships, or do you think we can get back on track and have, I talked with the previous guests about empathy and more compassion and more pause for, any type of conflict. So we just need to, kind of get back to where we were pre-COVID, and really look at, this as just a bump in the road, of our life.
Let me use a comparison, right, or a metaphor that I use, because I work so much with kids and kids in need that I need to make this. We all probably have kids or have nephews or nieces, right, or have friends who have kids. When the kids are busy, right, a group of kids are busy and they're doing something, the last thing you want to do, right, is to add. I mean, if you want to keep you want to keep the control and the peace and the harmony, right, within this kid. The last thing you want to do is add additional external factor that's going to change completely the rules of that game, whatever that thing is that the kids are doing. And it happens the exact same thing with us, human beings, like adults. It's the same thing. So I don't know how the world is going to look like in 1 month, in 1 year, and 2. We don't know that. But that's what's for sure is that we're going to go to some level of certainty. That's for sure. We will get used to whatever, the upcoming months and years going to look like. We're going to go to a certain level of certainty, and then that will allow us to finally go into a place of calm and with certainty, levels of fear go down, and then we immediately can start really assess. I'm not surprised about the stats that you just mentioned from this attorney that you talked about, because when there's a lot of, when there's so many moving parts and there's so much fear, you have nothing to lose. And when you have nothing to lose, guess what? You're going to do almost anything, right? So you said, no. This relationship is not serving me anymore. I'm not saying that there's, everybody's getting divorced because of the uncertainty. But what I'm saying is that you put things on a different scale. You put, you consider things on from a different perspective, and perspective is reality, right? So this is exactly what has happened. I think that I wouldn't be surprised that in the midterm, when things go back to normal, maybe some of those couples go together. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But what's for sure real is that until we don't get this stability altogether, we're not gonna be possible to start deciding, okay, so this is what we're gonna do with our lives. Again, but we have to understand we're human beings, so we react with what we are being, what we're being given, like from the outside world that we live in.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, I agree. Like when I'm in finance. So when we look at the crash, the terrorist attack and then the crash and then the interest rates up and now they're down, and, money struggles always come into play when we're dealing with, relationship problems. So, moves, money struggles, all these different things can cause a relationship to be compromised. So one of the things that you mentioned to one of my colleagues, that you were called to a business to help top salespeople that had been struggling in sales, and now that relationships have gone virtual. So tell me more about that.
Yes, exactly. Because, as we do something continuously, as you know, mechanically, we always do something like over and over and over again, we become also a little bit complacent, right? We know that certain recipes have served us in the past so that we can keep using them in the future. The salespeople, an environment that I know well because of what my company does, this environment of sales is obviously, you're trying to, establish a connection with a buyer that you think needs something and the buyer wants something, right? So you start to try to establish that connection. What happens when you cannot go, when you cannot travel, when you cannot shake hands, when you cannot look at the face of that person? Obviously, then as a seller, as a salesperson, you start feeling uncomfortable. And you would think that, doing business through Zoom or other, tools available, or other online video systems, it would be the same thing, but it's not. And I was just looking, when I was speaking with one of your, team members, actually the conversation was because I just had spoken with a $600 million, SVP for sales. And he had told me the main issue we have in our company right now is that our sales force is not ready nor able to do the same kind of deals over, let's say, online video conferencing, as they used to do before, because it's just a different set of skills. It's
impersonal. For me, my business is personal. I do seminars and then I sit with them across the table and I create an income plan or what have you. But now I'm handicapped because I can't do the seminars. I can't do the face-to-face, but we're opening it up more now in California. But, it's been a real challenge. And for me to stay positive and focused, it's been hard.
Yes, and as you know, many times, people are not forced to switch the video on, right? Many times you suddenly, and it has happened to me, many times I'm trying to set up, with a potential buyer, set up a conference call or a video call with Zoom, and guess what? They don't switch on their video, and then you get less information, right? So, and it's like a cold calling call, almost. Right. So you need a different set of skills, Vicki, obviously.
Yeah, it's been, I know some businesses have flourished through this. I think anybody that does face-to-face personal sales, it's really, really been a challenge. So your role is you go into companies and you teach them how to connect. Is that what you do? And how do you do that through this virtual era that we're in?
Yeah, thank you. So basically, the most important thing I do is both, let's say, corporate C-levels and CEOs and accomplished entrepreneurs. They hire me to bridge the gap globally for expansion and exposure as a way to accelerate the growth of their business. That's what we do at the CEO Confidant. We're a small company. We're 11 people consulting firm, and that's exactly what we do. So why is it, how do we connect people? So, I mean, I've worked, as you know, as my bio says, I've worked with more than 1,500 CEOs in 33 different countries, which means I've developed a network of friends, business partners, resellers, distributors, clients of mine, that right now, obviously, I treasure those connections, and those connections are the ones I'm using today for the companies that want to accomplish what I just explained. So this is exactly what I do. So I was able to pivot, last year and focus more what I do with the online part of what I do. So I still help companies to develop their businesses and have more exposure on global markets. And I do it even more than before, through online, platforms like this one. Before, I would take the plane from time to time, I would go there, I would go with my clients there to, shake hands and talk to these companies that, wanted to be like clients of theirs, whatever that was. Right now, I do it more online. But that's why right now, my most important assets, which are my relationships, my connections with all those former partners of mine on those countries, this is my most important asset that I'm able to use to help the companies that today need help, and they're more restricted with traveling, as you know. I mean, there's a lot of restrictions. Right. There's many countries that it's not only about having a test, right? It's you go to that country, and many countries, they force you to have 2 weeks of quarantine. So just picture that.
Yeah. Picture for our listeners that don't per se have a company, but are having a problem with connecting. Maybe they have a home business. What guidance could you help them with? What could you tell them that could maybe assist them?
The most important thing is that even though you think that the world is the way you look at it, every one of us has a different experience. Every one of them, right? So all those relationships that we have unfortunately burned, all those bridges that we have burned, it's just because everyone has a different perspective of what's going on in the world. And we feel safe in our little box. That's where we feel safe, and we don't want anybody to tell us that probably the things are different and we should be on a different box. So the most important thing I can tell you is, and I've seen it myself and I experienced it myself, is be really gentle. Try to put yourself on the other, party's boots. Really try to make sure that you try to understand what they are. I myself, the same as you, Vicki, in the beginning of this, of the current state of affairs, I was asking myself, as a public figure, what do I have to do? What is my role? Should I take sides or not? How can I actually help everybody reconnect, right? What has to be my verbiage? How do I express what I want to do? And the response is compassion, is humility, and is gratitude. And compassion for me is acceptance. Acceptance. Humility, acceptance, and gratitude. If we are able, I'm not saying it's easy, okay? I'm not saying it's easy, but if we are able to stay in this place with these 3 pillars, I really think that it's a great starting point to ensure that we will reconnect and we will rebuild all those bridges that we have burned for the last 12 to 14 months. Vicki. Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. Well, good. I just want to, first of all, say thank you. If there's anything that our listeners can grab from this, this will too pass. And, I feel that any of us that's in business, we've all suffered. We're not alone. It feels like we're alone, but we're not. I'm going to reference the Financially Fabulous with Vicki Facebook group. So that's how we had an opportunity to meet each other. So hopefully the listeners have gone on and gotten some nuggets from there. We talk about side hustles. We talk about ways to eliminate debt. We're working with debt.com. But the relationships is something that we don't want to destroy during this time. We want to hold on to the people that we love dearly and, just be, I think, compassionate and be considerate about what one thing I took away from you today is to be considerate of what they're feeling, what they're going through. So by doing that, I think that bridges can be mended. I think that I'm a glass half full girl. I believe that,
same here.
2 are better than 1. And so, I just feel like there's an opportunity for us as leaders to help the ones that are listening and to encourage them that, we're going to be okay. This is a season, just like the storms of life. And hopefully 2021 will turn around and we'll be able to get back to normal, and get back on track.
And if I may say just one last thing, as I was, listening to you, is that when you're with someone that you might want to, or you have already burned some bridges, why don't you try to focus on what brought you together in the first place?
Right.
What do you have in common? Because
right.
there's buddies that have broken the relationship after years and years and years. Just because everything that's going, when you take a beehive and you shake it, what happens?
Right.
This is exactly what's happening today, right? So
I know.
Again, you had and you still have so much in common with all these people that you disconnected or unconnected. Really, it's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. You just have to want to try.
Right.
You just have to want to try, and you really can do it.
I love that. Okay. My best to you. It's so good to talk to you.
Thank you.
Listeners, don't forget to download, give me 5 stars, and have a great week. And don't forget to whoop it up. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Vicki.
Take care. Okay. Bye.
And you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.